Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Vision and Impact, the podcast where we spotlight founders, scientists, and innovators that are transforming the future of health, wellness, and human potential. I'm your host, Sharissa Olivas. I am founder of White Wolf Marketing. And today's guest is Stephanie Moyal, founder of Troop, the first really mushroom gummy brand on the market that's making functional mushrooms very approachable, high quality, and actually enjoyable. Today, we're going to dive into the science behind mushrooms like lion's mane, reishi, and maybe a little bit of the future of microdosing and how building a brand that's really rooted in trust and education and resilience is just rewriting the way people think about wellness. So let's get into it. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great. Let's just start from the beginning. So you really transitioned from like hotel management into launching the first mushroom gummy company.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through how Troop was born and your personal journey and really what shaped your whole career?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, I was in hotel management. And on the day that COVID happened, I got furloughed from my job. And this was in early March. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. And simultaneously, my cousin had broken his leg in a ski accident and had to move home with his parents. So, I offered to move in with them and help take care of his leg since we're so close. So during COVID, the first 6 weeks was kind of the usual watching TV, Tiger King, the whole thing. And then I ultimately got bored. And I remember coming across this book that was just perfectly laying randomly on the counter. It was called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. And I read the book and I didn't know that mushrooms could be neuroplastic and help heal your brain and help heal your body. And I felt like I had discovered this ancient secret that no one was talking about. So I had asked my cousin Jake if he wanted to start growing mushrooms with me, and he said yes. And we started growing mushrooms and became so obsessed with them and wanted to share this with our community because, as I said, we had never heard of this. And we're like, how is no one talking about this right now? And so we wanted to share it with our community. And when we looked around at what was on the market, it was all powders and pills and tinctures. And we wanted something that would actually resonate with us. And you and I were just kind of talking about this right before we hopped on the call, that there's so much stuff and it can be overwhelming to take all these pills and everything. And, you just said that when it's too much, you just grab the gummies. And me too. I grabbed the gummies because it's more fun. It's more delicious to take. So we actually decided to make these mushrooms into gummies. No one was doing that before. And so we launched the first ever functional mushroom gummy. And here we are 3 years later.
Awesome. That's really exciting. It's funny you mentioned Tiger King because I think we all kind of went through that phase of watching Netflix, maybe working out more and kind of figuring out.
Yeah.
It's amazing that your new normal came from helping out your cousin to now being a brand that's still succeeding, all this time
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. Our business was actually initially funded by my unemployment money.
I love that. I love that. That's the
Yeah.
way to do it.
Yeah.
So most people still kind of associate mushrooms with powders and pills and even like coffee creamers. So why did you choose gummies? I know you kind of talked about it a little bit, but how did you work to make mushrooms more approachable for just the average everyday person?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, to your point, when people hear of mushroom products, they usually are in powders and tinctures and stuff. And so when we were growing the mushrooms, we wanted to share it with our friends and we're like, how do we do this? Like, we don't want to buy, because we had bought ourselves mushroom products that we weren't even taking, even though we knew how good they were for you. We just didn't like the taste of them and we don't like taking pills. So we were like, how can we do this in a way that we would want to take? And I had the idea of making it into chocolate or peanut butter cups. And Jake was like, no, I don't like really those things. I don't like chocolate. So he's like, let's make gummies. So we ended up taking the mushrooms that we were growing, going into the kitchen and making the gummies ourselves. And our first one, we failed absolutely miserably. And we ended up kind of getting it and then ultimately hiring a gummy scientist to make us our first viable product. And when we were giving our friends and family, because obviously whenever you're starting a business, those are your guinea pigs. When we were giving them the gummies, we found that the gummy really demystifies mushrooms and makes it super approachable. Someone is way more likely to try a gummy, a delicious looking, beautifully colored gummy over a gross powder that looks like dirt. So we really found that the gummy was the form factor for us. And with that being said, when we were launching the gummy, we're like, we need to make this the best mushroom product, not just gummy, but the best product itself. So we went super hard on sourcing and ingredients and all of that stuff, which ended up being a huge hassle that kind of almost crippled us, but in the end, it's okay. But yeah, the quality has always been super important to us.
And so that brings up my next point about you guys being heavily focused with your sourcing and the extraction quality. What should people know about the difference between something that's more high quality US sourced versus something that's more lower grade product on the market? Because a lot of supplements are getting a little bit of heat right now because they're filling their capsules with fillers like rice flour and not 100% the supplements. Can you talk a little bit more about the importance and the difference between something that's more high quality?
Yeah, absolutely. So to do that, I'm actually going to take a step back and just kind of go over overall like mushroom definitions really quickly. So when you are growing mushrooms, there's a part called mycelium, and that's the underground root structure of the mushroom. And then the fruiting body of the mushroom is the stem and the cap that grows above the ground. So just keep those 2 points in your head right now. So a lot of companies, what they're doing is when they're using the mycelium, and when the mycelium is growing, it's basically eating, it needs food. And the food that it eats is usually some sort of grain when you're growing it outside of nature. So a lot of companies, what they're doing is they're taking this mycelium and this grain and they're mixing it up and calling it a mushroom product. Now, the issue with that is that mycelium does hold a lot of beneficial properties. However, the rice or the grain is essentially just starch. So you're getting a lot of starch mixed into this blend, and it's a lot cheaper to cultivate. However, you're getting like such washed out beneficial ingredients. You're essentially just getting like ground up starch. So what I've learned in this business is if a company isn't being explicit with what they are doing, it's probably because they're not doing it. So if you don't see a company saying that they're using fruiting body mushrooms grown in the US, they're probably using Chinese mushrooms or mycelium based product and calling it mushrooms. Now, we use the fruiting body. And the reason why we use that is because while it takes longer to grow, while it's a more expensive process, you're not getting this starch mixed in and you're getting a powerhouse of these beneficial compounds. And it was very important to us to source all of our mushrooms from the US because many companies are getting their products from overseas, like China, which has been shown to have contaminants in their mushrooms. So definitely frightening that a lot of companies are doing this and not being honest about it. And there was one more point. Oh, yes. My other point is that it's very important to have your mushrooms extracted. So the reason being is that the beneficial compounds of the mushrooms are locked within the cell walls, and you need to extract them at least with water and alcohol to release out the beneficial compounds. So just kind of summarizing all of that, it's very important to have mushrooms that are organically and sustainably cultivated in the US, that are at least dual extracted, and that are fruiting body.
Interesting. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much goes into actually knowing the source and having education behind where you get your products and where it's coming from. And so I think it's important to be transparent, and that's how you build trust within a brand. And so Troop isn't necessarily just about selling products, you're building trust. And so how do you guys educate people on those like foundations you have around functional mushrooms?
Yeah, so we try to be really vocal on organic social media and putting out educational videos because we want to be the trusted source of mushroom products. We want to be leaders in education. If you have a question, we want to have already posted the answer to it. So social media is a place where we're super vocal, super educational, and also our website. We have a really robust blog. We have pretty much every question you could have answered on our website. And so we want to give people the visibility on what is important with mushroom products. And hopefully you buy ours, but if you don't want a gummy for some reason, then you have the information you need to go find the right company for you because it is really important what you put into your body.
Yeah, yeah, and you don't wanna be buying products that are half fillers, right? You wanna be buying the
Totally.
full you wanna be getting your money's worth, and so when people
Exactly.
don't know what they're putting into their bodies, 1, it's dangerous, and 2, it's not I don't think it's ethical. And that's where the conversation has really been heading lately, especially buying supplements off of Amazon and other third-party sellers, is that the supplements itself aren't really having what they say is inside of them.
Yeah, and that's another reason why we third party test everything that we do. We test our mushrooms, we test our gummies, we test everything because it is really important to have integrity with the products that you're putting out. And that has always been at the very forefront of what we've come out to do.
Yeah, and that's really great. Can you get into exactly all the health benefits? Because like we talk about all the mushrooms, but can you explain really for people that are listening that don't really necessarily know a lot about mushrooms, like all of the health benefits of lion's mane and reishi and turkey tail and cordyceps, and what does it actually do for your cognitive health and your immunity and your vitality? Like, can you just get into all the details about the health benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our most popular product is lion's mane, and I think it's because it's just the most researched and most popular mushroom out there right now. Lion's mane is so multifaceted. It's amazing for your brain. It helps you naturally focus without a crash. It's jitter free, sustained mental clarity. It's also really great for your gut health and for nerve repair and nerve damage. And it's also being studied as a potential treatment for Alzheimer's and different forms of dementia. So I'm really, really excited about the future of lion's mane. It's very near and dear to me because dementia runs in my family. So I really want to see what continues to happen with the research. Reishi is our second most popular product. It is the mushroom of immortality or the queen of mushrooms, another very multifaceted mushroom. Reishi is amazing for your immune system and for your vitality. It also helps regulate stress hormones in the body. So if you feel stressed a lot or your nervous system just feels out of whack, reishi is really very helpful for that. And because it actually goes to the root causes of stress and of nervous system regulation, it enables you to sleep better. And it's not going to be a melatonin where it makes you groggy or anything like that. It's actually just helping you naturally sleep better. And then those are our two single SKU mushroom products. And then we use chaga, maitake, turkey tail, and cordyceps. So just quickly going over those, chaga is one of the most potent sources of antioxidants in the world. So it's amazing for your immune system. It's also really good for your hair, skin, and nails. Also great for your vitality. Cordyceps is amazing for sexual health, for libido health, also for athletic recovery and endurance and energy. Maitake is great for blood sugar regulation, and along with turkey tail, it's actually being used as what's the word that I'm looking for? Like side by side treatments, cancer treatments in places like Japan. Both maitake and turkey tail are being used in conjunction with other cancer treatments in Japan, which is really exciting. Turkey tail is incredible for your gut and also very, very amazing for your immune system. And whenever I hear of cancer patients being prescribed mushrooms, it's usually turkey tail that is being prescribed. So, very interesting research to be done as well on turkey tail. And I've heard just really incredible anecdotal stories. And it's just so good for your health. And what's interesting about mushrooms, and especially in America, is that in America, we are so conditioned to a quick fix. You know, we want the instant caffeine rush, the instant Adderall bump, like the instant whatever it is. And mushrooms are part of nature and they take their time and they work more slowly. And it might not be this like drastic jolt that you're so used to, but nature takes its time. And especially mushrooms, they compound over time. So the benefits get better the longer you take them. And they are working behind the scenes, even if you don't feel this crazy jolt. And what I realized about mushrooms was that, you know, I had been taking them for 2 years and I was like, wow, I actually have not gotten sick in so long. Like the mushrooms are just helping optimize in my immune system and keeping me healthy and functioning so that I can feel better. And yeah, it's so, so interesting, just the psychology of us wanting to feel these huge, huge impacts, but really it could just be the subtle things that we need that stack up and work better over time.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Mother Nature's natural multivitamin. I mean, you just need so many benefits that people take thousands of different types of supplements and medications to help achieve. And if we can get rid of, at least one prescription drug I think it's worth it. It's worth the try of taking on something that nature has provided us. And if it works, then, that's one less chemical we're putting in our body. And we all know how much we're putting into our bodies that we don't know about. Our food system is problematic and we're working to solve it. But every day there's so many chemicals that are put into our food and our water that we don't know about. And so if we can take the nature's path of healing our bodies and healing ourselves, then it's worth a try, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And to your point, I love what you just said about it just kind of being nature's multivitamin. That's actually what we call our super tube, our 6 mushroom blend. We call it the multi mush because it is. And mushrooms are also packed with other vitamins and minerals as well. So it is nature's multivitamin. I love that expression. And we always say that nature holds a lot of the answers that we're looking for. And it's true. I think we are seeing this collective shift towards nature. People who might not have thought about this maybe 20 years ago are now starting to look for more holistic remedies, more preventative remedies, because nature is able to provide those for us. And we don't have to depend on the pharmaceutical band aids that just require more medication and more medication. And I don't believe in like completely eradicating Western medicine at all because I think it does have a lot to offer. But I just see us kind of coming to this more middle ground. And it's just, that's where I think we should live is in this balance of like respecting the two and going to nature when it's necessary. But then, if I like break my arm or something, I'm gonna go to a doctor for a surgery or something like that. So yeah, I just hope that people can start finding their way back to themselves through nature.
Yeah, and mushrooms actually are life itself. Like they can create life within themselves, and the actual biology behind mushrooms are incredible. There's so much that mushrooms can do on their own and within their own ecosystem that makes them such a powerful force of nature that I think a lot of people don't realize. Like cordyceps can actually create and decompose within themselves. And there's so much science behind how cordyceps can help us as humans.
Totally. And so, to your point, mushrooms are the cycle of life. They bring death into a rebirth. When there's dead forest logs on the floor, mushrooms, grow from that. They eat that food and then they grow from that. So they are life and they are death and they're just the complete cycle. And yeah, they're just so fascinating.
They really are, and there's a lot about them, and every mushroom has a little bit of a different, thing that they're good for, which is really amazing to know that there's so many different types of mushrooms out there, and they're all good for some different reason or another.
But yeah, we're just scratching the surface of the mushroom industry and what mushrooms can offer us. And I went to a mushroom summit last year, which was really awesome, the Monterey Mushroom Conference. And we were actually one of the only brands there. It was mostly growers, like the largest functional mushroom growers in the world basically were there. And it was this really incredible opportunity to be talking to these people who have been in the industry since before I was born, honestly. These are, kind of legends in the space. And just to hear them talk about mushrooms and the future and everything. And they actually decided then and there to come together and form a coalition because we are stronger when we're together. All of us are talking about the same messaging, but if we can come together, pull our resources, and then promote this information, fund our own studies, things like that, it's only going to help the industry ultimately. So that's what they're doing is they're going to be funding their own studies on mushrooms, on lion's mane, and really just promoting or helping people understand the power that they hold.
That's really awesome. And one conversation that we've had on this podcast before is the power of microdosing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know a lot about it. How do you see microdosing and functional mushrooms and even psychedelics kind of like reshaping that conversation around mental health and even ADHD?
I personally think mushrooms are the future of health. What we're doing is the mind and the body, and psychedelics as mental health. So microdosing, I think, is a great entry point to help legalize psychedelics. And microdosing, for those who don't know, is a sub-perceptual dose of taking psilocybin or LSD or any other psychoactive compounds. So when I say sub-perceptual, if you feel it, you've taken too much. So you take about zero point 0.1 of a gram. And, everyone kind of has a different experience when microdosing. For me, I feel more focused, more calm, more patient. And it's one of those things where I look back and I'm like, oh, wow, I handled that situation so much more calm than I would have. For some people, it sparks creativity. For some people, it helps reduce migraines and menstrual pain and so many different things. And so I definitely see microdosing as being a huge, huge industry. I fully support it. I think it's incredible. And for ADHD, I think it's awesome. And functional mushrooms do play a part in that. Paul Stamets has a super famous microdosing regimen called the Stamets stack, and it's psilocybin with lion's mane and niacin. And so lion's mane definitely does play a role in this. And also have spoken to a neuroscientist who is studying menopause and was using psychedelics and found that actually when pairing the lion's mane with the psychedelics, it actually helped with the hormone regulation more. So it's like super interesting stuff. Yeah. And in terms of actual psychedelics, like journeying, that has changed my life for sure. It has really helped me and my business partner in our relationship. We've totally used it as a tool to help grow ourselves and grow the business. And it also just, helps to reframe some of the stories and voices in your head. Like, we don't have to talk to ourselves this way. We don't have to stay in these negative thought loops. Like, an analogy we like to use is like it clears the windshield of the car. Like as we're driving, the car gets dirty and it kind of just gives you this car wash to be able to see things more clearly and like also like just softens the edges around. And yeah, it's just been such a powerful, amazing tool in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it has scientific backing that it opens neural pathways that aren't usually able to connect. And so, if you can take enough that helps you feel different, like a multivitamin, without feeling the effects of having a full experience as taking a full dose of a psychedelic, and it just opens those neural pathways and creates new ways of thinking, then all of a sudden it becomes this really powerful thing that can open our minds up to something that we never thought was inside of us. And it's not these chemicals. It's not these chemicals that we're sourcing from who knows where, some factory somewhere. That's what I like about mushrooms is it's all natural and we're taking it all from Mother Nature.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. And so let's talk about building your brand because building a consumer health brand isn't necessarily the easiest thing in the world. You really have to build trust with your audience. And when you're a new brand, that's hard to do. And so, what have been some of your biggest challenges so far? And how have you kind of just pushed through and stayed resilient towards it?
Well, yeah, I think to your point, building trust is a challenge. And I think you just do that by continuously repeating your messaging of what you are and how you're sourcing and all of these things. Like in this day and age, with all of the information that we are bombarded with, it takes people about like 7 to 9 times to even buy something. So to listen to it and hear it and remember it probably takes more. So just, yeah, being like very consistent with your messaging and just like saying it over and over, having it in different form factors, I think is really important. And then challenge wise, like there have just been absolutely so many, I can't even tell you. But I would say one of our biggest challenges was marketing. We originally thought that we were going to have people try our product in order to buy it. But now we live in a society where people are buying furniture, perfumes, all of this stuff online. People actually don't need to try the product. And we also offer a 100% money back guarantee if for some reason the product is not for you. So it took us a lot of money to make that mistake and realize that actually this is not where we should be spending our time, money, and effort. And then we switched to more of an online business and trying to scale our business online. So yeah, that was definitely a failure that we learned from and just kept moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And so you guys have been able to kind of change your marketing approach to be able to target those first time buyers in a more effective way. What are some of your most common like strategies that you use in terms of marketing that you have found to be successful?
So right now, I'm kind of seeing a shift in online marketing from these UGC ads to more of an organic style ad. I think people are getting a little bit tired of seeing these UGC videos. So we have actually started to do just more organic videos and loop them in that way. And that's been really good. So yeah, I would say that has been good for us. And Amazon has been also very good for us too.
It's good, yeah, just being in more places at the same time because you mentioned this the 7 points of contact, which is a very
Yeah.
It's a great marketing approach, and with the more expensive product you have, the more contact points that you need. And they gotta trust a brand enough before they buy it. So they gotta see it, hear about it, experience it again and again in different ways, in different places, and different platforms. And so being in a place like Amazon kind of adds on to that point of contact and kind of that point of trust.
Totally. I completely agree with you. And I think, the 7 points of contact, I was told that about 2 to 3 years ago. I think at this point, with even more information, more things being thrown at us, that it's probably more.
Yeah, and everybody is selling online now, and people see so
Yeah.
many products and so many ads every single day that it gets clouded. Like, you even know sometimes you'll scroll online, and after, 30 minutes, you're like, "What did I even watch? Like, what did I even look at?" And so there's just so much being thrown our way every single day, that it's important to be at the right place at the right time.
Yes, definitely.
And the industry is changing a lot, like just marketing and the online platforms and how people shop. How do you see the mushroom and even microdosing space, if you want to talk about it, growing over the next 3 to 5 years?
So, yeah, that's a really good point. I was actually just thinking about this before our call. I went on Amazon and I was typed in lion's mane mushroom gummies and I saw ours, of course, and I saw so many others, like so many. And this was not the case when we first launched. So I think, for the next few years for functional mushrooms, it's basically it's going to weed out all of the companies. And I think the best quality ones and the best brands will survive, but I think a lot of companies will shut down because there's just too many products out there right now. I think it's survival of the fittest. And hopefully in terms of psychedelic mushrooms, we will start to see some legalization and rescheduling happening because right now psilocybin is a schedule 1 drug. Schedule 1 means that it has a high potential of addiction and no medicinal properties. And as we all know, as the studies have shown, there is no potential of addiction and extremely a wide variety of medicinal use cases for psychedelics. So it's an archaic categorization that needs to change. So I'm hoping that we can at least get it recategorized and start to have more money being invested into this field for innovation and studies and things like that. Because I really have seen how mushrooms have changed my life and so many people around me. And as the studies have shown, a single dose of psilocybin can be equally, if not more than effective than the leading SSRI. And this is taking something once and having it last you for years rather than taking an SSRI, which is essentially a band aid to the problem. It's not actually going to the root issues of the problem. And ultimately, you know, pharmaceutical companies want that. They want you to keep coming back every month and paying. Like it's a business. The business model is recurring subscription of you needing to buy things over and over. So I really hope that we can start to see some shifts happening there because it ultimately doesn't serve us.
Yeah, and a lot of times on this podcast, we've talked about it being our system being sick care instead of health care.
Yeah,
And we can have preventative care that helps us fix the issue before we get to sick care. And if we can get to the root cause before it gets too far, where we can only use sick care, then we're making strides. And so, really working on finding out how we can fix the problem before it affects our everyday life. Taking care of ourselves, like our everyday diet and like how active we are and the vitamins and multivitamins that we take. There's so much more that we can do to change the way our health system is taking us.
100%. Like there's so many easy things you can do to take your health into your own hands. And it doesn't have to be super expensive, like, but I completely agree. Like preventative health over curative health, like if we can stop the problem from happening, how incredible is that?
Yeah, and especially if mushrooms have anything to do with fixing or helping Alzheimer's disease. This is one disease that we've been stumped on as a humankind that we don't know how to fix. And it's something that people don't know a lot about. The brain is very complicated. And if there's anything that has any possible chance of helping it, prevent it ever occurring, then it's worth a try, in my opinion.
100%. I completely agree with you.
Well, thank you so much for this conversation, Stephanie. If anybody wants to learn more about functional mushrooms or integrating into their wellness routine, where's it the best place to start learning more about Troop and more about the industry as a whole?
Yeah, our website is an amazing resource for all of these things. We have a robust variety of blogs, and our social media page also has so much information. So our website is www.trytroop.com. That's TRYTROOP.com. And our Instagram handle is at TryTroop. So TRYTROOP. And for any of your listeners who would like to give us a shot, we created a discount code for 20% off. We called it White Wolf 20. So for any of your listeners who are interested in functional mushrooms, like I mentioned, we have a 100% money back guarantee, and we really think that you're going to love them.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I'll put all that information in the show notes. But thank you, Stephanie, for hopping on and getting into all the details. It was really awesome getting to know more about Troop and your journey.
Thank you for having me. It was such a pleasure.
First, well, this wraps up another episode of Vision and Impact. Huge thanks to Stephanie again for just sharing her vision and her story and her opinions and all the exciting future of functional mushrooms through Troop. So if you're curious about cognitive health or immune support, or just want to explore a smarter or I guess cleaner way to level up your wellness routine, definitely check out Troop's mushroom gummies. And if you're a founder working to scale in biotech or health or wellness, connect with us, White Wolf Marketing. We help brands grow through strategy and soul and just staying powerful. So until next time, stay visionary, stay curious, and keep making impact.